Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Vidhi Khanduja from Department of Computer Science, Hansraj College, University of Delhi. As we all know, the coding is necessary to develop any technology, and technology has become an essential part of our life. So today, we will try to develop the logic to create a program. To begin with, what is a program? A program is a set of instructions given to a computer to solve a specific problem. A program is not a quick creation. It requires certain well-defined steps. Firstly, we need to understand the problem. We need to analyze the problem. Then we have to find out the solution of the problem, and then comes the coding part. So, to write a good program, logic of a problem must be clearly understood. So, today we will try to develop that logic. And how to develop a logic? We have certain tools for that. Like, we can write an algorithm to represent what logic we are developing for a particular problem, or we can develop a flowchart for that. Right? So, formally we will start with the flowchart. What is a flowchart? A flowchart is a pictorial representation of a step-by-step solution to any problem. Right? So it has certain symbols. Let's start with the first one, that is an oval shape. It is for start and stop. So when we are writing a solution to a problem, the first step is we are starting the solution. So we will start with this symbol, that is the oval shape. Second comes the parallelogram. That is, we call it an input-output box. We are taking some input from the user, or we are displaying the result. That need to be shown with this box. This is a parallelogram. We call it an input-output box. The next symbol we use to draw the flowchart is your rectangular box, which is known as a processing box. So all the calculation, all the processing need to be done in this box. Let's take a simple example. I am writing a flowchart, or I am drawing a flowchart to add two numbers. Okay? So what I need for that? I need two numbers, right? And then I need to add them. So let's say the two numbers are 10 and 20. So I'm writing 10 plus 20. This is some kind of processing we are doing, right? So we'll be using a processing box for that, right? It can be multiplication, it can be subtraction, it can be division, any kind of arithmetic operation. Arithmetic means your addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. All these operations comes under your arithmetic operations. Right? So this comes under your processing part. So if I am performing some operation that requires some processing, I'll be using this processing box. This is different. This is for taking the input. Let's say instead of using 10 and 20, I am asking the user to enter the value. Okay? We want these values from the user. Let the user decide what two numbers need to be added. Right? So I'll be using this box. I am asking the user, you give me two values, I will perform the addition of that and I will give you the result. Right? So taking the value from the user, input box is required. When I am giving the result back to the user, again the input-output box is required. Right? Another important box is the decision box. If I want to take certain decisions, as I said, right? So if I'm using anywhere, I need to make certain decision, I will be using this decision box. If this happens, you do this, otherwise you do this part. So for such type of logic, I'll be using a decision box, right? Other symbols are how to connect these symbols. So we have the arrows to connect one with another that will show the flow of a chart, right? Next is the connector. This is rarely used in case I am drawing a flow chart and then I reach the end of a page. I need to continue it from another page. Then what will I do? I will just put a connector to state, okay, this is in continuation, and in the next page again I will draw the connector to show, okay, we are starting with the new page, but this is in continuation with the what we have done in the previous page. Right? So these are certain symbols. Let's quickly see the example. Okay, so the first flowchart which we are going to draw here is to add the two numbers. Okay, so the very first thing, as I told you, what we have to have? We have to have two numbers with us. Let's make it a simple first. We have two numbers, 10 and 20. The problem given to me is I need to find the sum of 10 and 20. 10 plus 20 I need to perform. Right? So what I will do, the very first step is you need to have, you need to have the two numbers. Okay? So this is my first step. Two numbers need to be taken. Now it will become very difficult if everywhere I write two numbers, I need to have some symbolic name to them. Right? So that symbolic name, let's say I have given as num1 and num2. Okay? Any name you can give. So what these names are known as? These are the, in a programming language, I will be calling them as identifiers. Right? So they are the names which are given to various components of a program. And one of the component is variable, which we have seen now. Right? So these num1, num2 are nothing but the variable. Variable. Their values vary. That's why they are known as variable. So in a programming language, what is a variable? Whose value varies. In terms of Python, if we say, how I am going to define a variable? They are the symbolic names. Symbolic names given to any object. In that case, any value. Right? Gradually, we will learn more about these terms. I'm just giving the introduction to you today. Right? So, now I have a brief idea what a variable is, whose value changes. Right? So, these are the names, symbolic names, which are given to refer to a object or any value. Right? So that now in case further I need to use these numbers, instead of using these numbers, I will be using these variable names. Okay? So your variable comes under the category identifiers. Right? So what we have done in this first two steps, very simple. You need two numbers, so I am given the name to them. Let's say first number is num1, second is num2, right? And then we have assigned them the values. So what is this operator? This operator is your assignment operator, right? Whatever value I am writing to the right side of this will be given to that particular variable, which is written to the left side of assignment operator, right? So this is an important operator which is known as assignment operator. Okay? Okay, next we will see more operators. Okay? Okay, so the next step will be I need to perform the operation. What operation I am performing here? The task given is I need to add two numbers, right? So I will be performing the addition of these two numbers, right? So this is operator, as I told you, and these num1 and num2 are the operands. Okay, so what are these? These are your operands. Okay, so in this particular case, my operator is plus symbol. So I am adding two numbers, right? So what I am doing? I am performing the addition of two numbers. Now to store that result, I need some symbolic name, right? So I am referring it as a sum. Okay, so this is another variable I have taken, sum. What we are doing now? We are adding the two numbers num1, num2 and storing their result in some variable. I hope this is clear to you all, right? In this particular case, num1 is having a value 10, num2 is having a value 20, right? So, 30 will be stored in sum. Simple, right? Let's see what's written here. Perform the specific operation that we have done. Now store the result. So your sum variable is storing that result. The last part says display the result. We have calculated and then this is the final result. Very simple. What we have done? We have taken two variables, performed the specific operation, displayed the result. Right? So let's see how we have made this flowchart out of that. Okay? Right. So we have first the start symbol, as I told you. Whenever we are starting a flowchart, this oval shaped symbol will come and we are writing the start here. Right? Similarly, when we are ending it, the same symbol will come with a stop word. Okay? Next step, this is your processing box. What we have done, we have assigned the values. I told you what we are doing, we are creating a simple program. We have been given a value 10 and 20, I need to perform the addition of that. Right? So, we have taken the values 10 and 20, assigned them to two different variables, num1 and num2. We are assigning the value, so we have used this processing box here. Okay. Next step, I am performing the addition. Right. Again, some kind of processing is happening here. I am using the processing box. After calculation, I need to display the result. Okay, the job is done. This is the final answer. Right. So I am using input-output box for that and displaying the result. Finally, you are closing it with a stop symbol. This is how we draw a flowchart, right? Let's modify it. This is a simple case we have taken when we are adding two specific numbers given to us, 10 and 20, right? What if we want the numbers to be taken from user? Like in the calculator, what we do? We type any two numbers, we get the addition of that, right? So we need to program the computer in a generic way. For any kind of input, it should give me the result, right? So now we are taking the case where we are adding any two numbers, right? So I need to take the value from the user. Rest all the steps will remain the same. So instead of fixing the value of num1 and num2 to 10 and 20, I will be taking the value from user. So this is the important step. We need to ask the value from user. Okay, you tell us the two numbers for which we want to perform the addition, and rest of the steps are going to be same. Okay. Now, this is the flow chart. Now, what is the difference between what we have done earlier and this one? The difference is in this step only. Right? Instead of assigning the values, we are taking the value from the user. Right? So, instead of a processing box, I am using the IO box, input-output box. Because we are taking the input from the user. Similarly, for displaying also, we are using the same box, we are displaying the result. Okay? So, these symbols have to be carefully used when you are drawing a flowchart. Okay? Let's quickly move on to the next example. Now, in this, what we are trying to do, we are trying to find out the area and the perimeter of a rectangle. Different problem. How to find that? We all know the formula for that. So we need two things, the length and breadth of a rectangle. We can easily calculate the perimeter. We can easily calculate the area. Right? So let's quickly see the steps here. Same, you need to take two numbers. The length and the breadth will be my two variables. Any name you can give. I have given them the name as length and breadth. Okay? You take the values from the user, perform the operation. What processing I need to do here? I am calculating the perimeter here, that is twice length plus breadth, simple, and then I will be calculating the area L into B. Right? Perform the calculation, display the result. Job done. So I am printing the final value. Let's see how the flowchart turns out to be. This is my flowchart. Same, we are starting with the start symbol, right? Then you are taking two values, length and breadth. Now, third step is you are performing some processing, right? You are calculating the perimeter, you are calculating the area. So you need this rectangular box, processing box for that, right? Last, job done, display the result. And finally stop. Okay? Now, let's see another example. We need to draw the flowchart to find the larger of two numbers. Right? The starting steps are going to be the same one. Okay, we need two numbers, जिसको compare करना है हमको, right? Let's say I am naming them as A and B. Sorry. Let's say I am naming them as A and B. So my two variables are A and B. You take their values from the user. Now what I have to do? I have to check. I have to compare them, right? So here we are using a different operator. Earlier we have seen the arithmetic operations, right? So we deal with those operators, addition, subtraction, multiplication, like that, right? Now we have come to the relational operators, right? Relational means we are comparing them, anyone lesser than, greater than, equal to, right? Such things comes under your relational operators. So you are performing this kind of operation now, and what we say, if A is greater than B, right, then you have to display the result A is larger than B, right? Otherwise, else B is larger, right? So what will be the steps? Simply I am writing if A greater than B, then you have to print A is larger, else print B is larger. This is what we are supposed to do, right? Now, such cases where if we want to take a decision, अगर ऐसा है तो ऐसा करेंगे, right? In such cases, we use this rhombus shaped box or diamond shaped box, that is known as your decision box. So first step is same, start. You can input A and B, input, read, anything you can write here, right? I am taking the two values. Now we are performing the check here. Comparison, A is greater than B. If yes, then go to this side. If it is not true, then go to this side. So we have two paths coming out from this box, right? So these arrows, if you can just observe them, they represent the flow, right? From this to this, and then if this condition is true, you move on to this path, otherwise you will move on to this path. Okay? So in this case, we have two values. We have taken the two values from the user. Now I am comparing them. If A is greater, very good, you print A, or whatever information you want to print, you can write here. A is larger than B, anything you want, right? So I'll be displaying here. Else, what you have to do? You have to print B is larger. And then finally, both these paths will lead to stop. That's the end of my problem. I have solved it and the problem is completed. This is how we draw the flowchart. Now we have seen the start-stop symbol, right? Input-output symbol also, conditional block also. How to use this diamond box, okay? Right, so these are certain practice questions which you need to practice now based on my today's session, right? These are the simple ones. Just draw the flowchart to convert the temperature from Celsius to Fahrenheit. That means we need to take the value in Celsius from the user, right, and then convert it into Fahrenheit and display the result, right. Next one, we need to find the area of a triangle. So for the triangle, we need 3 sides. You take 3 input from the user, calculate the area, display the result, right. Then I need to check whether a number is positive or not. How to check that? Any number the user has entered, let's say it's 5 or minus 5, right? If the number is having a value greater than 0, obviously the number is positive, else it is going to be negative. So here comes the if else. So the condition box will come in this. Okay, it will lead to 2 paths. If the value the user has entered is greater than 0, true, the number is positive, else or false, the number is negative. Okay. Now the last question, draw a flowchart to find the percentage of the marks obtained in 3 different subjects. So what we need to do here? First, we will take the marks obtained in 3 different subjects from the user. So I'll be using 3 different variables here, right? You calculate the percentage and display the result. Simple, right? So you need to practice this based on what we have done today. So in the next session, we will continue from here. We'll be coming up with more flowchart, and then I will be performing the mapping of these flowcharts to a Python language programming. So wishing you all a very happy programming. Thank you.